Artifact is a game that I've personally looked forward to since TI7. It was a card game, and as a teenager I played a lot of it because my philosophy and ethics teacher was a huge Magic the Gathering nerd and got me into the game as an after-school club. And that group basically consisted of 5 other boys in total, and through sheer luck we all decided that we wanted separate base colours. I picked black because at the time winning at any cost sounds great, and it's also a pretty great life motto. And my friend, he picked white, so when you played against each other, it made for some really great games. We started mono-colored decks, but after a month of playing and understanding the basic concepts, we made the typical dual-colored decks. I started black and red, however I switched to black and blue. My friend had a white, red and green human deck, and honestly it was a nightmare to play against. He would say the same thing playing against my mill deck, and you know, that's because it was. We both stopped playing Magic when the last set of Innistrad was finished, and not because we hated the game or anything, but because we both started college and buying cards was getting more and more expensive. While I didn't play Magic for too long, probably 2 to 3 years tops, it's still a very special game in my heart, because it allowed me to go mad and experiment with a lot of different combinations. Vampires was not a mechanic, it was a theme. You see, because the game, you had cards like Falconath Marauders that would buff themselves every time you attack your opponents, in addition to having cards like Lord of Lineage, who was Bloodline Keeper when unflipped, because that was the new thing when I started playing Innistrad. And they buffed your other vampire creatures, all for one and one for all, you know, that nonsense. In another deck, one of my win conditions would be summoning the artifact Shrine of the Burning Rage, and you know, it was a stalling deck that you would basically get off the guaranteed damage. Now, these are some of the most memorable mechanics, but I did try a lot of them. I would have continued playing Magic more, but when I went to my local Magic store, the people there had decks worth over £900, and that's not an exaggeration. And honestly, I just stopped playing because A, I was very inexperienced against these people that had been playing since the first Magic block, and B, they literally had decks full of Mythic Rares and Planeswalkers. And I know one kid who had a deck that was just Mythic Rares from all of the 18 or so blocks, and I didn't have enough collection to build decks that would fare well against them. Plus, I didn't want to spend extortionate amount of money even back then. But that's the same time that I got my computer, and so when I started playing Magic the Gathering, I quickly found my new game, which is Paladins, and that's the main game for the channel, but that's a different thing entirely. It was an FPS / card building amalgamation, meaning that everything of the champion's kit could be changed. The base weapon, the health, abilities altered and whatnot. While it didn't offer the crazy variety of Magic the Gathering, it still was good enough. The Paladins that exists in the present is nowhere near as crazy as it was before, because Hyro Studios, or Evil Mojo Games, wanted to focus more on the FPS element and make the game more esports worthy. I mean, I'm stuck with the game now because I've grown to love it, even if it's not the game that I initially fell in love with. So I mean, you really can't imagine it, but when Artifact was announced by Valve, I knew one thing right away. Even though they said it's a Dota card game and knew nothing much at the time, I knew it would have to be more than Hearthstone, you know? You have to remember a couple of things. This company made the Source engine, which was years ahead of its time, has made iconic games like Portal, Left 4 Dead and Half-Life. They have also developed and currently support 2 of the biggest esports titles that currently exist, CSGO and Dota 2. So, I mean, in my mind, it's clear that if Valve has announced a game after its hiatus, it has to be more than just a cash grab card game, and not as simple as Hearthstone. See, Valve isn't in the habit of copying popular trends, they create them. If they're entering the card game genre, it would have to be radically different, otherwise they wouldn't be releasing it. While I was excited about the game anyways, it turned to hype levels when they announced that Richard Garfield was a part of the Artifact development team. Now, for those who don't know, Richard Garfield is the mastermind behind Magic the Gathering, so in my mind, Valve, the company that makes radically different things, has partnered up with the creator of Magic the Gathering. It honestly turned out better than imagined. Now, another big thing that Artifact has going for it, that it's marked as a TCG and not a CCG. This is important because this is a Valve title. Hearthstone is a collectible card game, you know, a CCG, because as the name suggests, you can't actually trade the cards. Once you have a card, it's yours and there is nothing you can do about it apart from disenchanting it for dust or whatever you call it now. You can't take that one card that you don't like and trade it with another person that has a card that you potentially want. Magic the Gathering, on the other hand, is a TCG or trading card game, meaning in theory I can take one of my rare cards and trade it for another rare card or multiple commons. The trading aspect has a completely different meta game, so we won't get into that now, basically. Valve, on the other hand, doesn't have physical trading, but it has Steam trading and the Steam market. Now, as a current Masters Economics student, the Steam market is very interesting to me, and apart from Steam platform itself, it's arguably the most important thing that Valve has made so far. But that's a discussion for another topic, really, because I can really nerd out about the market that Valve has made. Now, a TCG on the Steam platform is actually possible, and that got me excited yet because I also have a trading background from CSGO. Everything in mind is currently going in the direction of this is going to be an amazing game for a multitude of reasons. So, I made this video basically to be a discussion about the monetization and the economic model that Valve has opted for the game, and really explore what that means for the players, or us, and the company themselves, so Valve. So let's start with the basics. Artifact will not be a free-to-play game. You have to spend $20 to play it. Now, for the $20 you get 108 predetermined cards, so 2 pre-constructed decks made of 54 cards, and then you get 10 card packs, which each of them have 12 cards in them, meaning that in total you get 120 random cards and 108 predetermined ones. The another important thing is that Valve has stated 2 significant things about the card packs. Each card pack will be exactly $2, and number 2, each card pack will have a guaranteed rare. So this means in the sense that the game itself is free. For the $20 that you spend, you're getting 10 card packs, and that itself equates to $20 like I said, and as a bonus you're getting the pre-constructed decks and the game for free. That's not the major point, it's the second one. It's also announced that Artifact will only have 3 rarities, common, uncommon and rare, which means every card pack you open you will get one of the rarest cards in the game. In a way, it's equivalent to getting 1 legendary per pack for Hearthstone, or 1 mythic rare for every Magic the Gathering booster pack. We know that's not the case in Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone. You're guaranteed their rares, which is not the highest rarity in their respective games. This added value you get from Artifact is a lot higher than the other games, which I just mentioned are Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering. Now, while this is good and all, Valve has also announced that there will be no grind in the game, which means there is literally no free way to earn cards. You have to buy the card packs or buy them individually from the Steam market. When it's implemented post-launch, you can also trade for the cards with other players, because Valve has confirmed that trading won't be present in the launch of the game. It's strictly a TCG because if you play card games in real life, you don't have quests that allow you to earn free packs. You trade for it, you buy booster packs, or you go to a specialist to get singles, I personally like this approach more, and I'll get into exactly why in a moment. Now, I understand a lot of people don't like this because it means whenever there are new cards, you have to spend money, whereas the competition, or the main competition, Hearthstone, has a way to grind out free packs. Now, Valve has said that if you want to play the game, you just play the game. It respects the time and doesn't devalue it through the current popular grinding economies. For me personally, $2 or £2 not taking the exchange rate into account is a fair price because I've spent more on a cup of coffee on a daily basis. Like I've mentioned, I used to play Magic the Gathering and the booster pack in Magic the Gathering cost £4, so this is technically half price. You have to realise that games are a hobby, not a necessity. If you spend £60 on a game and play for 60 hours, that's £1 for every hour played. Now, another real life example is that I've spent about £600 on Paladins and I've played the game for over 2,500 hours. That's 24p for every hour I've spent in the game. For comparison, watching a movie cost me about £15 and they last for an average of 90 minutes. That's a whopping £10 per hour entertainment. Games are actually really cheap if you play them for a decent time. Of course, if you buy a £60 game and stop playing after 1 hour, that's when it gets expensive. Personally, $20 is a good amount for me to see if I like the game or not, which means also understand the intricacies of the game and only comes from hours of playing. And if you don't like card games at all, buy Artifact and hate it after 1 match, then that's $20 wasted. Well, actually hold that thought completely. Being a Valve game, a very big emphasis of the game will be placed on the market. This means every single card that you get from the packs will be marketable and tradable. The commons won't go for so much, but the uncommons card and definitely the rares will be worth a fair bit. Now, we have to realize that at the time of making this video, the game nor the beta is live, meaning we have no way of knowing how much the cards will go for. The market will also take some time post-launch to stabilize, and the meta itself takes time to develop. Either way, we know for certain that uncommons and rares will be worth more than a few cents. So if you truly don't like the game, you can technically get some of your money back. And if you get some great rares, you can in theory recoup the entire cost and spend it on something else on Steam. Now this is another great thing about the game, because you know for a fact that every single one of your cards has some value. It could be a couple of cents or it could be a couple of dollars. If you want to quit the game, you know that the amount you put in the game is somewhat transferable should you decide to leave the game. It could be 10%, 20%, 50% or even 100%, but what we do know, it's not 0%. In other cards games, so like Hearthstone, once you spend the money, it's locked into the game forever. You can't get anything out of it, unless of course you win some money in tournaments. Now this topic gets interesting, so let's dedicate an entire section to that. There is already an artifact tournament announced for which the first place will get $1 million, but the competitive players will have a lot different approach to the casual players. Unless you plan on being a competitive player, you don't need to have every single meta card and thus spending money on a very competitive deck. For the sake of comparison, a competitive Magic the Gathering deck on average costs from $300 to $500. And now if you take the previous point into consideration as well, and the fact that Richard Garfield has also said you don't need res in your decks to win, they are in the game to add flavor. Commons and uncommons will be powerful enough, so I can see the average cost of artifact competitive decks being considerably less than $100, $50 to $60 by my personal estimates. So if you were to play the game casually, you can sell the cards you don't want and buy the ones you want. There is no meta for you. Once you make the deck, you can play against a lot of different people and honestly have a new interaction and outcome every time. We also don't know the rulings of the tournament, but what we can say is that the cards that are allowed, how many in a deck, how many duplicates, etc, etc. But with all things considered, the barriers to entry will be a lot lower for competitive play and lower so for casual players. A lot lower. Depending on the type of player you want to be, will also determine how much you are going to spend in the game to get the full experience. The trading aspect of the game will be very big and a prominent part of the whole artifact experience, and it solves a lot of problems that Magic the Gathering currently has. Now it's been a while since I played Magic the Gathering, like at least 5 years, and I still have all of my cards from those days, and I know for a fact that quite a few of them are worth more than a couple of pounds. But to sell them, I would either have to meet up with some people that want to buy my cards, or go to a store and sell them, or send it via post to an online company that got the card valued and maybe even buy them. It's basically a hassle and I haven't bothered with it. The Steam market solves this and a multitude of other problems. Number one, there's only one market and everyone that plays the game has access to its entirety. The barrier to entry in this market is virtually non-existent. Everyone has equal access. As long as you have a Steam account, you can access the market, and even if you don't have the game, you can still buy the items from other games. 2. Because there's a central market, you don't have to worry about the postaging or the valuation of cards. Press a few buttons and you can sell a card from the UK and a guy in Japan can instantly buy it. There's also no currency exchange that you have to worry about, and because it's instantaneous, the hassle factor is gone because it takes a couple of seconds and clicks to buy and sell on the Steam market. 3. There is no missing information, so this is value-wise. Everyone who has access to the Steam markets, meaning that if you decide to sell the card outside of Steam, through bots once the API is available to everyone, it's very easy to see the price that the item is being traded on average. Now, it's easy to scam people in Dota because there are various rarities, gem slots and item types. So this is a popular scam that happens, is you can show the people one price for an item and it could be worth something entirely different. We still don't know how the cosmetics for this game will be, how they'll be handled, so if they will have their values like CSGO's factory new or battle scarred condition. But once we know more that will be a separate video, and we also know that one card won't be available in multiple rarities. So we can be certain that the prices you see in the Steam market are the average price. Now, with the market being a very big part of the game, another big question that people will ask or are asking are how are the cards going to be priced and what affects these prices. Having had a decent exposure to the Steam market for quite some time, there are a couple of things that I can see affecting the price from the top of my head. Number one, its value, and this is not monetary wise. In any card game, there are cards that are really good and really bad, and they depend on namely two things. How much does it cost to cast the card, and what do I get out of it? The basic principle here is, the more the card can do for a lower cost will decide how much the card is going to be valued, and that also means actual money. So there is a direct positive correlation between the in-game value and the monetary value of the card. Number 2, its popularity. This concept is very simple. If a card is popular, it's going to be worth more than its non-popular counterparts. Number 3, rarity. Again, simple concept. The rarity dictates how many cards are there in the entire market. In CCGs, this makes little to no sense because rarities are just there to make you buy more packs for the sake of buying. In Artifact, there is an actual marketplace, meaning there are less of the rare card circulation and more of the common. I know it's a very basic concept, but I'm still going to explain it because it's important. The most expensive cards in this game, in theory, therefore, should be undervalued rares that are also popular. Number 4, professional play. Now this ties in a little bit with the popularity factor. Seeing a card consistently win in pro play will mean that it'll be more desirable to people because you know, they like to follow what the professional scene is doing. So it's entirely possible, and it will happen at one point, I can guarantee that, where one card that was undervalued wins a big tournament, and you will see that the card responsible for it will rise in price in the next few hours. Number 5, its win rate. If a card on the market is visibly more expensive than its counterpart, a really simple reason for that is it wins games consistently than its other counterparts. And number 6, big updates on Steam. Now this is something that not many people pick up, but having spent some time on the Steam platform and the Steam market, there is always a correlation between big events and the item prices. So if it's the infamous Steam summer or winter sale, the prices of all in-game goods drop because people sell the items to get games for really cheap. Another thing that I would classify as events are big updates to the top dog games, so Dota and CSGO. So the compendium release for Dota has a positive impact on the CS items because the other value of CS items go down to sell to get more levels for the compendium. And of course, if there are new cases in CS, namely the ones that introduce new knife types or finishes, then the other CS items and some marketable Dota items also lose the value during this time. Now there is one other reason, but I'm building on to that for a little bit. The one thing that Magic the Gathering had lacking for obvious reasons was the fact that once the card has been released, they're like that forever, they can't be changed. So if there is a card that is completely busted because the design team didn't anticipate it, then tough luck. There is nothing they can do about it. Tournament wise, if the card is too busted, you can just ban it, but it can still be played with friends, you know, in casual play. Online games have an advantage in the sense that if something is busted that you didn't think you knew, you can change the values to be more in line with the original vision. Now, while this means little to no negative long-term impact in the game, the prices of the cards are going to be affected. So, I mean, simple example again, if a very powerful card is made weaker, then the price will drop substantially for it. So imagine that a guy paid $2 for this card, and after the nerfs it's now worth 50 cents. It's not a good feeling that you had no control over. Similarly, if a card is buffed and it becomes a staple, the price of it increases. It's a two-way street, and depending on the type of card that is affected, you will have a different outlook of it. While we also talked about the fact that casual play will cost differently to competitive play, there is also the fact that trading meta could affect the base game, because prices dictate meta, and not necessarily the abilities themselves. So this again would be unprecedented for a video game, but you know, it's a great learning experience, also something for future games to consider and iterate upon. So as the final topic for the video about Artifact economy and its monetization model, it's going to be expansions. We know for a fact that expansions are going to be an integral part of the game because they keep the game fresh and are a great way and time to explore new mechanics or even update old ones. What we don't know is how they're going to release or what exactly are they going to work, you know? So what I mean by this mainly is availability and limitedness. While I doubt that the base card packs will stop anytime soon, because the game that initially releases is the core set, doesn't mean that feature packs won't be. So Valve could easily release a set and make it limited, meaning you can open as many packs as you want to in a given time, so let's say 4 months, and after that period no more packs will ever be available to buy. So what that basically does is all the cards that had a constant supply and have gone, all the cards in existence are the market. So, you know, basic theory again suggests that over time, all of the cards from this limited set will increase in price because there's going to be less and less available of them when you buy them. Because, you know, supply and demand. Anyone that collected card packs but never opened them or mass collected rares from this set would definitely recoup his cost, more so if the cards are actually useful. But this model will potentially exclude new players, and the main question that arises here is, should the newer players be limited in their card choices or be locked into higher prices just because they didn't play the game for a long time? A lot of games use the limited tactic for prices, but that's for cosmetics and they don't exactly offer useful traits. I mean, it's like selling plus 1000 health for a character that you can only get if you played since day one. Just because you're new, it doesn't mean you enjoy the game any less than a person that's played the game for day one. And you know, this has increased the threshold between the new and the veterans even more. It also goes without saying that if the new expansion has a mechanic that has buffed an older set card, that will also affect its prices. Or if a new card is superior than the current meta card, then the meta card will drop in price. Now you have to remember at the end of the day that Valve is a business and ultimately they operate to make profits. I mean, in that sense, the model that Artifact has makes sense. You could argue it's pay to win, but again, we don't know any of the cards. I mean, we don't know all of the cards. We don't know the rarity ratio, future plan, or even when the beta starts. This is all speculation from my years of economic study, my experience on the Steam market, analysis from the existing data, and just browsing various forums. Artifact is all in all a new experience for everyone involved, and depending on its success, it may potentially set a precedent for future card games. All we can do is wait for the game to release for everyone on the 28th of November, or if you're lucky enough like me to win the beta sometime in October. Now thinking of it this way, every day we are getting closer to the beta release date. Now this has already been a quite long video, so I guess this is a good point to, end it. Expect a few more videos before the beta is out, unless of course it comes out tomorrow, then I don't have anything else prepared. And definitely when the game is out. Until then, it's been NinjaBoffin, and I'll see you then.